Oh, need a third hand. Thank you. Hello. Oh, hey, right. Hi, folks. How's it going? Okay, well, I'm going to put this here. Welcome to 42 Silicon Valley. We're very delighted to have you. Welcome to everyone online. Can I just get a verification that that folks can see us online, that we're ready and rolling? Yes, thumbs up. Fabulous, what I like to hear. Greetings, my name is Jennifer. I'm one of the staff here at 42, and you're here for what we like to call the check-in. So you're going to sort of come check us out, see what we're like, and we're going to start by hopefully making you quite excited about being here. So we're going to kick off with a little video. Here goes.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door and the night begins. Cause we've done this before, so you come on in. Make yourself at my home, tell me where you've been. Pour yourself something cold, baby, cheers to this. Sometimes you gotta stay in, and you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay in. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. It's my house.
That's what we do. You ready to change the world? Seriously? Because we're in a digital world, guys, in case you missed it. Right? And this is the best software engineering program in the US. No joke. So the tools that you learn here, right, are tools that we're going to use to change the world. Seriously, that's the kind of community that we have here. So if you're not interested, I'm a little sorry. Right, we're going to get moving. So here, we're interested in digital education for a digital world. It's pretty awesome. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you a bit of an introduction to 42. We say, what is 42 Silicon Valley? How is our program designed? Then you're going to look at what the program actually is. And you're going to go on tour with students. Folks online, you're going to get on tour, and you're going to sit down with one of our students. Well, you're probably already sitting down, but he's going to sit down. And then you're going to ask him questions about the program. Then we're going to come back here, and I'll sort of chat a bit more, and then we'll do some Q&A. And you can grill me as much as you like. So, with that, what is 42? It is, in short, engineering education turned upside down. Right? This is the most untraditional college, university style you could possibly imagine, because we designed it for the real world. We designed it for the world today, not based on an education system from a few hundred years ago. Not that we don't like traditional education, on the contrary, we're just doing it differently. So, we have no tuition. We are free, 100% free. We will never charge tuition. There is no catch. It is not a joke. It's for real. And I am so excited to be able to say that, because that means that education is accessible, like really and truly accessible. And I can tell you that more than half our student population seriously wouldn't be here if this wasn't free, right? We're at the point where, like, we change lives here, and it's amazing. I personally think it's so exciting that like, we're trying to get rid of all the possible barriers to get education for a digital world. Like, the world is going digital. It's already digital. It's just going more so. So when you come here, you're getting access to tools for the future, which I think is great. We have two campuses, one in Paris, right, and then one here in Silicon Valley. The one in Paris is older, is our original, but the one here is bigger by quite a bit more. So, bit of history. So, we have to ask that when 42 was founded, we asked the question, how is the current education system designed, right? Colleges and universities. And basically, it was designed in the same, like the Fordism concept, right? How can you mass educate a lot of people at once and sort of efficiently? And the way it came about worked for the time that it had. But at that time, what was important was that knowledge was rare, right? So knowledge had to be transferred from one person to another. But today, knowledge is not rare, because what do you do if you want to Google, if you want to know something? Yeah, gave it away. You Google it. I'm pretty sure you guys already knew that. If you want to know something, you get out your phone and you Google it, right? So, and you find answers. That's the point. It's not that there's no answers, it's that there's loads of answers. And so today, it's not that knowledge is rare, and it's not that you can't learn things without a person. And so the skills that you actually need today are not the same as how the education system was designed 200, 300, 400 years ago, right? So we said, great, we're gonna get rid of a person being one central point of knowledge, right? And we're gonna get rid of lectures as a system of transfer knowledge. So here we have no teachers and we have no lectures, because the skills that you really need to learn for the real world, you're not gonna learn by sitting in a lecture, and you're not gonna learn from having knowledge transferred to you, especially in the world of computer programming, because programming languages change. They have an average lifespan of 3 to 5 years. So if you sit in a lecture and you don't actually learn how to code, and somebody teaches you about a language that's going to last for 3 years, well, you've learned stuff for the max 3 years. That's not very useful. It's not very efficient either. So we redesigned it. The other thing is that lecture-based learning and the traditional education system doesn't allow for individual learning. Right? It doesn't take into account what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how do you learn, and how quickly do you learn. So our system's designed to take into account all of that and has a lot more flexibility, which I'll find out shortly after we go on to style. So, digital revolution. We have a change in access to knowledge, which we already talked about, change in the skills and the intellectual capacities demanded in the workplace. So this is the big thing that's going on right now, is what's called the skills gap. People in the workplace are like, I can't find people to hire who actually have the skills that I need them to have, right? And then people coming out of universities are like, I can't find a job. Or there's a mismatch, right? So what we do is we work with employers to be like, well, what do you need, right? And then we can change our curriculum very quickly and go from there. Okay, gonna keep going. So we basically said, we're gonna rethink our education system. What do employers need in the digital world, and where are we going in the next 10 to 20 to 50 years? What's the best way to learn those skills? How do you gain knowledge today, i.e. Googling it? And then how does knowledge translate into competencies? Right? So yes, you can Google something, but then the question becomes, well, which article do I read? Or which YouTube video do I watch? And who's telling the truth? So it's the skill there isn't, can I Google something? The skill is, how do I evaluate the information that's presented to me? And how do I know which one's right and which one's wrong? So you're building a mental framework to evaluate what you see on the internet. That's the capacity that you need in the workplace today, one of, at least. And you're not going to learn that sitting in a lecture, right, at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of a program overview, what we have at 42. So we start with intensive basic training, which is why a lot of you guys are here at Check-in, because that's where you're going next, hopefully, if you like what you see here. So intensive basic training is the last part of our admissions process. It's 4 weeks, 28 days solid of coding exercises. It is, in French, they call it swimming pool because it's sink or swim. It's an immersive experience, guys. It is intense. People love it and they hate it. And pretty much every single student here says, it was my favorite time. I loved it and I hated it. So what's important about this is that it's merit-based admissions. We don't ask for GPAs, we don't ask for test scores, grades. We don't care if you haven't finished college. That's not the point. The point is, can you come here and can you do it? Can you survive? Can you make it to the end? That's what we want to know, because there are a lot of college dropouts who have changed the world already, right? And so we're not here to say, well, sorry you didn't get through college. No, absolutely not. We're here, are you motivated to care? Do you want to try? Then you get into this is our intranet. So this is like the brains that runs everything. And it's about self-controlled learning. So except for the PC. The PC, you get stuff all day. Here, you get a control. But you'll see more of that when you go on your tours in a bit, so I won't stay on there. This is our galaxy. So this is the curriculum that you're looking at, right? Again, you'll see more of that later on. Now you know you need to ask. So this is my charge to all of you, including folks on the internet. You need to ask, what is the galaxy? Give me a tour, to the people who are going to be your tour guides later on, okay? So don't forget that. What is the galaxy? Give me a tour. And we have built our system into 21 levels. Now, the fun thing is that you don't get to the next level until you pass the level that you're on. So you don't get to level 2 unless you complete level 1. But the way you complete level 1 is by passing. So our entire system is binary. You ready? Totally dorky. It's pass or fail, black or white, 0 or 1, on or off. Because software has to work. You can't get into a car where autopilot functions at 95%, right? Nobody would get in that car. Your software has to work. And the point, it's great, it's called mastery-based learning. So you don't move until you've mastered whatever you're on, whatever project, whatever skill. You don't move on until you master it. Genius concept. It means that, one, the focus is on learning. Have you learned it? Can you do it? It's not, have I got an A? Have I got a B? No, it's like, you know it or you don't. Well, we want you to know it. That's the important part. Can you go out in the real world, and can you actually do it? That's what employers want, too, which is why we designed the system like that. There's a whole bunch of gamification and points built in there, too. So next thing you guys need to ask about point system. How does the point system work, right? It's called correction points. Ask about that. I won't touch on it. So on that, we're going to explore. Okay, so I'm going to split you guys into 2 groups. So we're going to go this half of the room. I'm going to go with, can I have you stand up? Right, the guy in the back here, you go. His name's Joe. He will be your guide. So you guys are going to go with him. You guys on this side, right? You are going to go with, here you go in the back. So we all go by intranet logging names. So this is Mlu. You can ask him his real name, and you can ask him about intranet logging names, too, and how people are known. Now, folks on the internet, so I'll tell you what, we're going to take a little pause. Folks on the internet, we're going to take a pause. I'll be back with you in about 10 seconds. Okay, so you guys go on, head upstairs. And I'm going to stay down here with our lovely online folks. Oh, thank you. Okay, folks online, what we're going to do with you is we are going to show you, I recorded a video tour for you because I want you to be able to see what 42 is like. I think it was a couple weeks ago, we recorded a tour. You get to see this place. So we're going to play that video, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to one of our students, and we're going to sit down and have a little Q&A with one of our students. So we got the tour up and ready. Okay, we're going to go. You can watch the tour, and we'll be back in 6 minutes and 39 seconds.
Hi folks, my name's Jennifer. I'm another member of staff here at 42. So for those of you who are doing the online check-in, we wanted to give you a tour of 42. So come on, follow me, and we're going to check this place out. So off we go. Up here we've got a beautiful collection of reasons why you should hire students out of 42. So we have a lot of companies come visit, they're looking to recruit. So we said, hey, here's how we're different from other universities. We are mostly black and white here, but in terms of interior design and decorating, but we like to have a little bit of fun. As you can see, the post-it note art is going on over here. And we're going to head on down to the server room. So you can see that we have a lot of space. It's a big open plan here. Keep going. Come on. Yeah, there you go. That's it. All right, we're going to pause here for a second so you can take a look. Right, so right in here, this is our server. And we have them on both sides. We're total nerds, so we built big servers and a nice room to sit and admire them in. Next, we're going to move on around. Yeah, so now you can see we've got loads of space. We've got a lot of computers. We actually have 1,024 computers in this place. And this is just the upstairs. And then we have the downstairs level as well, which you won't get to see because it's not been refurbished yet. So, once you've become a full student here at 42, You will start off in this area, so we've split everything into zones. I'm going to have my assistant here give you a nice little spin round so you can see what everything looks like. So, yeah. Man, look at those Macs. Beautiful. So one of the things that we think is important in education is that people have access to the resources that we need, which is why you don't need anything to come here in terms of, you don't need to pay tuition, and you don't need to buy books, because we've provided the computers and that's what you need to do the entire curriculum. So we're going to keep moving here. Next, I want to take you to one of the projects. So everything's project-based learning here, but one of the cool things is that you can, as a student, start suggesting your own projects. So some of the students came here and they said, hey, we want to build a self-driving car, right? And rather than taking an online course, we said, okay, let's actually build a real self-driving car. So we got a mini one, right? Which is going around the track as we speak. Yeah, you can see that. So not stopping there, we decided we were actually going to turn this into a Kickstarter campaign and make it available to like maker groups or high school coding groups or robotics clubs or people who just want to build stuff and make stuff. So next, we're hoping for a golf cart, right? We're going a little bigger. So right, come on, we're going to keep moving. Now over here, this is where you do intensive basic training, also known as the PScene or the pool. So all the students that you see here are currently going through the admissions process. So once you've finished the tour that you were doing now, or the check-in as we call it, then you can sign up to come to an intensive basic training session. It's 28 days solid of crazy coding. I'm sure you've heard all about it. So this is where it takes place. It's a good community environment. This group is great. There's a lot of like peer-to-peer, a lot of asking questions, helping each other out. They're growing, they're surviving, which is great. So we're going to leave them to it, and we're going to keep going around here. Yeah. So, next, I'm going to take you to another student project. And we've also got some filming going on in the other corner. We get a lot of visitors come to 42, whether it's media or companies or VCs, that's venture capitalists, so people who look to invest in startups. So yeah, don't worry about them filming. That's sort of typical for the 42 community, what's going on. Probably no 2 days are the same over here, which, you know, that's part of what makes it exciting and interesting. We also have a team of students who are sort of volunteers, and they help us out with, we call it DevOps. So that's an opportunity as well. So, in the meantime, this over right there, that plant project, keep going. We call it the plant project, also called 42 Greenhouse. So we call everything 42 again, we like that. So what it is it is a, come closer, let's get a close-up look actually. So this is a self-watering plant system, right? So I don't know if you can hear it, but it's watering itself, right? So rather than having to water the plants every day, what this does is it takes the input factors of things like when it was last watered, how humid is it, how much light has it received, etc., and then decides when the plant should be watered, which is pretty cool. Again, that's an example of like students who've suggested this is a project that I wanted to do. They got a group together, they proposed it to the academic team, and then they implemented. So again, that's one of the cool things about 42 is that, and one thing that makes us different, you know, you get to do real things, like real projects that actually exist in the real world that make a difference. The cool thing about this project is that, we're going to move over here, the guys have been contacted by corporate level or sort of government level companies looking at sort of bigger scale implementation, which is great if you're looking to get hired or go into different areas. So this is our final area over here. As you can see, so sort of students to shuffle and move throughout, depending on the projects that they're working on and who they're working with. So with that, I'm going to disappear down that corridor. Hope you guys had a great tour, and we will hopefully see you soon. Bye!
Are we back? Hello? Hello? Yeah, Maurice, come join us. Is this mic, can we put the mic back on? No, it's on, but I'm not up. Hey, there we go. Okay, mic's back on. Here we go. Okay, you guys are seeing a PowerPoint, is that correct? I need you to see my lovely face. I've got two wonderful guests with me. Can we switch that to video stream, rather like live video stream? Here we go. Yes, fabulous, fabulous. All right, folks. So here's what we're going to do now is we're going to pull up the Galaxy, which is our curriculum, and I'm going to have the two gentlemen on my left share more about the Galaxy and what it's like. So remember, I gave you a couple questions to ask. So here's what you're going to do is you can type those questions into the chat box, and we will pick them up, and then we will answer them. I'll get fed them. We've got another assistant sitting behind the camera that you guys can't see with a laptop. Okay, here's what I'm going to do first is have you guys, I wanted to say, give me your name, how long you've been here, and what level you're on.
Hello, I'm Benson, and I'm currently level 3.
How long have you been here?
About a year.
You've been here a year. Okay.
Well, actually, more like 9 months.
9 months. Okay. Pass it on.
And my name is Maurice. I am almost level 3, and I've been here since the end of November.
Awesome, great. Okay, so my lovely AV team, can we pull up the Galaxy so that our folks online can see what the Galaxy looks like? Oh, so you can see it, you can actually see it behind us there. Oh man, can we zoom out? Or can we zoom out or put it up so there's just, you guys can see it? Okay, there's a delay, all right. Okay, so, Benson. Do people call you Ben?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, Benson, why don't you give us a sort of explanation of the Galaxy, all of its different nodes, branches, how does it work? There you go.
All right. Oh, okay. So, for the Galaxy, each one of these nodes is a different project that you can do. And it starts out over there on the red dot, where it's basically your first project, which will pretty much be recoding a bunch of functions in the basic C library. And then once you've moved on and completed a few of the basic projects, and you get to the project called, all right.
Give him a commentary of what we're doing.
All right, right now we're looking at someone else's Galaxy page, or not?
Oh, I'll just keep going.
Oh, never mind. All right, so once you've progressed far enough, okay.
Stop, just let it go. Stop playing.
I
just thought it was funny that he's red.
All right.
I get questions. So this is a question from Gavin. Do some levels take longer than others? Like, does the level incrementation, does it take longer than others?
It kind of depends on the projects that you're working on.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, so the question is, how
Some levels take longer than others.
do some levels take longer than others? And in all honesty, it kind of depends on what projects you're working on. All of the node projects on the Galaxy have different tier levels. And based off those tier levels, that's how much experience you get. So if you do a tier 1, you get a certain amount of experience. But if you do a tier 4, you get a whole lot more experience than you would, say, a tier 1. So in terms of experience, experience essentially is, Experience is essentially kind of your way of figuring out like how far away from the next level that you actually are. And a lot of things get unlocked based off what level you are. So some instances you might have an opportunity to learn something new based off what level you're on, or you might have different opportunities associated with that level as well.
So next question, same person, it's also Gavin. What do the branches do, specifically the diamond-shaped looking ones? So like there's diamond-shaped parts of the branches. What do they mean?
The diamond shape? Oh, those?
Yeah. So is this, how do I get here?
Yeah. What do the branches
Why do they go up and down?
and what do they do?
Okay. So the question was, what do the diamond-shaped branches do on the galaxy? When you get to a node where you come across one of those diamond-shaped branches, you then have an option to choose between the different projects for your progression, pretty much.
Does each level have its own galaxy?
Each level has its own galaxy. No.
Each level does not have their own,
Yeah, each galaxy does not have their own galaxy.
or each level.
Yeah.
What are the free floating circles or rectangles? So like you have like the thing that says brushes or like, the C exam, what are those?
Okay, the question was, what are the free floating circles on the galaxy? So those are projects that are not reliant on your progression, and they are available, well, sometimes they're dependent on your level too, but for example, like the rushes are just small projects that are given every once in a while that everyone can attempt. And the C exam is a weekly project, weekly exam that we can take to keep our, memory sharp in C.
How does the project nodes correspond to 21 levels?
How the project notes? Well, I think that when you completed, I'm not really sure. You want me to-
When you do enough projects.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, so essentially, what was the question again? Sorry.
How does the project nodes correspond to 21 levels?
So the question was, how do the project nodes correspond to 21 levels? Essentially, you do each project, you get experience, and at some point you get to level 21 based off the number, or based off the different projects that you do.
Are the projects more team-based or individual-based?
It's a combination of both. In terms of the in terms of the projects being either individual or team-based, it's a combination of both. Some projects, like the first project that was in the red, LibFT, that's an individual project, while other projects further down the line, like say Core War or like Lemon, those need multiple people because those are pretty significantly sized projects.
Do you have to follow a specific order or can you choose it yourself?
The question is, do you have to go into a specific order or can you pick your project progression yourself? The answer is you pick that yourself. You can choose which tree to kind of go down. You can also choose which side of that branch or those diamond branches that are available. You can choose which side you want to go through. It's pretty much up to you to decide what you want to learn and how, like what projects you want to take on.
So yes and no is that yes, you get to control what you learn, but at the same time, there is like limited flexibility in it. So as you guys can see, there's the red LibFT. It's called the project's called LibFT, right? At this moment, this particular galaxy for a student, the only project they can do right now is called LibFT. They can't just jump to something on the outside of the galaxy because they're not ready for it, right? So the way that you know if you have access to a project is that you see the sort of bright, they look like bright shining stars. They're big white circle around them, and they're like lit up compared to the other ones. That means that you have access to those ones. right? So right now on this tree, the next one they have is, oh, I can't read that, FT Debut. Yeah, FT Debut is the next project they have access to. Right, and you get the concept. Okay, so you complete the project, and the further in you go, you get access to more and more projects. So you do get to control what you learn, and you get to control when you learn it too, but there is sort of still some semi-structure to it, because you know, it's like you can't start running marathons if you haven't trained first, right? You can't go from sort of 0 to the most advanced level possible, in the same way that you can't go from, you know, high school straight into a PhD for astrophysics. It's like, no, there's stuff you need to build first. So there is structure to the learning system, but by and far, you get to choose what you learn and when you learn. All right, Mio, next question.
How is progress checked?
Okay. So the question was, how are projects checked? Progress. I see. So progress is checked based on pretty much how many projects you've completed. And that has its own grading system, which I can get into, but, oh, you want me to get into it? All right, so for the grading system of each of the projects, there is going to be a peer-to-peer portion, and followed by a computer-graded portion. So in the peer-to-peer portion, fellow students will come and look at your projects and evaluate it themselves. And if you pass all the student evaluations, your project will then be submitted for a computer evaluation. And if it passes that, only if it passes that will you get the points for the project. Otherwise, you'll have to try again until you get it right.
Next question. Is it possible to complete the entire galaxy? Repeat the question.
The question is it possible to complete the entire galaxy? And I'd say, yeah, if you have enough time.
Does the galaxy ever change, or does it mostly stay the same?
Well, the question was, well, does the galaxy ever change, or does it stay the same? New things do get added to the galaxy every once in a while. So, but then I don't think I've ever seen stuff being removed. So, yeah, whenever like new curriculums are added, they'll pop up on the galaxy somewhere. For example, I think recently we added like the C++ piscine, or no? SSL. Oh, SSL? Yeah. Oh yeah, that one, that diamond. That diamond was recently added, right? And I actually haven't looked too much into it.
So the newest thing, I guess, that's been added is the SSL tree. That involves like security and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, you'd have to actually get through your initial starting projects like libft, fill it, and get next line, do either FTLS or printf, and then you can start to do that project or start to look into those projects on that tree.
Okay, what are the major branches here?
Oh, so the question was, what are the major branches? There are 3, I guess, major branches. The first one being the systems branch going up. The next one is the algorithms branch going to the right, and the one towards the bottom is the graphics tree. So,
And then there's also a web branch.
oh, and then there's also a web branch too. So,
Is every project coded in C?
so the question is every project coded in C? Not completely. Like a lot of them will be in C, but not all of them.
What level do people usually reach before leaving 42 and finding a job?
Oh, I'll take that one. Lucky me, I get to take that one. Oh, cameraman's running to adjust. Oh, we're good. So the question was, what level do people normally get to before they go and find a job? And I'm delighted to say that it's not level 21. You can stay for level 21 if you want to, but it actually ends up being closer to anywhere from We've had a range from like 9, 10, 12, 15. Nobody's reached 18 yet because nobody's been here long enough and everyone's been hired, or had other stuff come up and they had to leave. So we find that really exciting, right? It means that this is the cool thing about 42 is learning isn't bound by time. So these guys here, I don't think you're going to be with us all the way through to level 21 because I think you're going to get jobs before that. I'm totally confident in that, which is exciting. You couldn't do that in traditional university. Traditional university, like, you can't just sort of stop. Well, you can stop doing the degree, but it doesn't help you. Here, you're like, great, you could go away, get a job, work for 5 years, and you could come back on the weekends, or, if you really, really like us. Or you could take a pause, come back for another year, finish up, do some more levels, and then get a job again. So there's totally flexibility built in. All right, Mia, hit us with another question. What is the most important project? Yeah. All right, I'm going to give this. I want both of you to answer this question.
You want to go first? Or?
You mean like what I think is the most important project? Oh, okay. Well, in my opinion, the most important project is probably going to be your libft, actually.
Why?
Because the libft is actually your own replica of the C library, which is actually the only library you're going to be allowed to use for all your future projects. So then, based on the quality of your libft, the ease of how well all the other projects will be completed will be affected pretty much.
Screw it up.
Yeah, so don't screw up your libft. And, yep.
What is the most important project, and what is it and why?
The most important project and why? I think I'd actually have to agree with you. It would definitely be libft, at least starting out, because not only are you expected to, remake all those other C functions, but you're also allowed to make your own. So you can start to kind of figure out what you think is important and how you want to actually implement it into future projects. Because I'm definitely using that in my current project, which is probably the next most important project in my mind, which is printf, because a lot of projects kind of need, or they're made a lot easier if you actually know how to use printf in that situation. And you can't use printf unless you actually make it, so.
Okay, so now my turn to ask a question, because we're going to go on with this project. So I think people sort of understand the concept of the galaxy and sort of how you progress and the levels and that sort of stuff. But when it comes to an actual project, how do you start, right? What does it look like? What are the descriptions that you're given? What's the sort of input? And then how do you actually go about completing a project? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Are you asking about our methodology, or wait?
Yeah, so when you click into one of the projects, right, you get the basic description and you get some stats and that sort of stuff. So go with that. Do you get any other help with it? Is there a textbook that comes with it? Like, what do you do once you get a project given?
All right, so once you get a project and you go onto the project page. Oh, yeah, here. All you're given is that subject PDF over there, which will pretty much tell you what, the subject, which is a PDF that will tell you the project that and how you're supposed to complete it. But then all it specifies is how. It'll just have the objectives, the mandatory parts that you must complete for the project, and bonus sections where you can complete for bonus points. And there's also like a forward and I guess that's it. The forward, which explains a brief introduction of the project, I guess.
And then what? You read PDF, then what?
Oh, and then there's also a video that they sometimes provide. Well,
how do you get started? I mean, how do I get started? So I read the PDF, I watch the video, then what?
Well, you pretty much just start writing the code, right?
You tell me.
Oh.
What do you do, Maurice? Shame on you.
Well, when I start a project, I look at the PDF, try and figure out the general idea of what I need to get done. Then I start to try and, well, at least with the projects that I've been working on recently, they've been more recreations of different functions. So I kind of look up the initial function that I'm supposed to recreate and see if I can't get the general idea of the behavior behind it. And then after that, I start to try and write a little bit myself, and I also start to ask some of the people around me. Asking some of the fellow cadets has probably been the easiest way to get through some of the massive roadblocks I've had in terms of learning how to do anything for that matter. So, like if I ever get stuck, I know to look things up, but I also know that I can count on the people around me to at least be willing to hear out whatever my problem might be and possibly point me in the right direction.
Would you say that's fair? Yeah. Okay.
Do you get to keep your code?
Yes.
Question
Oh, the question is, do you get to keep your code? And the answer is yes.
You wrote it.
So I'm going to jump on that because this is another thing that folks don't know about. So yes, you're going to keep your code, but there's part two. This is the fun part, is that what we have also started recently is a project incubator, right? So it's kind of like a business incubator, but it's not necessarily businesses. We take projects that are like open innovation projects, projects that impact and change the world or save society. Most recently, we had one with the State Parks of California. So it's not a business application, it's not there to make money, but it has high impact, and so we're like, awesome, that's the kind of stuff we do at 42. So those projects, right, you can come, you can pitch an idea, say, hey, I have an idea for this, this is my business model, this is what I want to launch, sort of, you know, getting to the heart of those people who are entrepreneurs. And we say, great, so we put you in our project incubator, and you've got 3 months to make an MVP. I sit in there, our chief academic officer sits in there, you get absolutely grilled to pieces, it's awesome, and you get to keep your code. So you own all of it, right? Even though you make it here at 42, we give it, like, we don't keep the intellectual property there, which is huge, because that's not the case in other places. So that was a side note. Mio, hit us with the next question. Is 3 to 5 years the amount of time it takes to pass 21 levels?
How long do students stay?
I mean, the question was, does it take 3 to 5 years to actually get to level 21? I would probably have to say no, because, like I said, I started in November, which was, what, 2 months ago now? I'm currently working with a bunch of people who are around level 7. So by right, they should be doing their first internship, and they started with me 2 months ago. Like, it really kind of depends on your own skill, whether or not you can attain those levels really quickly. If you don't do it quickly, don't feel too bad about it, because like I said, I'm still like level 2.7. So I'm still a ways away from actually getting to that point. But at the same time, I know I'm a lot better off than where I was 2 months ago in terms of my coding knowledge. So
Hold on. So the answer is yes and no. You're right, Morris, right? It does depend on how quickly you learn and how quickly you want to go. So there are some people who have done the entire program in 18 months. That's insane. I mean, that's insane, man. And then there are the people who take longer because they have part-time jobs and they've got other stuff. Cool, great. Now, the other part is that we just started a new program, which is not yet on the website. Should be this week. It's called 42 Starfleet Academy. And this is like the elite program. You do 19 levels in 12 months. 19 levels in 12 months. Like, it's a set curriculum, so it's not quite the same. You don't have the same like flexibility in projects. But if you're like, dude, I want to go from 0 to like master's level software engineering in 12 months, then this is a program for you. You will seriously work your butt off. I'm talking 50+ hour weeks. But man, like, that is perfect for some people. Like, we have I think it's a group of about 20 to 30 students who started when we launched the program last month, and they were like, this is exactly what I want. I want to do it in 1 year, like commit full on, go, go, go. And at the end of it, they are very, very good software engineers. So that was a curveball you guys didn't know about.
Can you guys talk about your Piscine experience?
Piscine experiences. All right, I want both of you guys to answer this one. What was the Piscine? So Piscine is also called intensive basic training. So we should say intensive basic training. So what was it like for you guys?
Okay, so the piscine.
Hold it closer.
All right. So what was the piscine like? Oh man.
You can give it to Maurice first.
I need some time.
Okay, so the question was, what was the piscine like? It was an experience. Like I can try and describe it myself, but at the same time, everyone's going to have their own experience, and in all honesty, you should probably experience it yourself. But in terms of my experience, I had a chance to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different places. I had a chance to definitely feel a lot more confident about myself as a coder. Also had some really interesting opportunities to kind of go do things and essentially, like I said, become a way better programmer than I was before I got here. So.
Okay.
What do you think? About the same?
Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right.
Okay. If you have an internship part, or like if you have a job before you get in, if you have a job before you get in,
She left.
when do you need to do your internship? Do you need to quit the current job that you already have?
Okay, so the question was, if you have if you have a job already, do you need to quit that job to fulfill the internship requirement?
Oh, because like, you know how you have to do an internship and also you have to do a job? If you come with a job already, do you have to quit that job to fulfill your internship?
I don't believe you do. Wait, does the job does that depend on the job?
Well, yeah. Or generally, it's best to hit level 7 before you get a job, because that's when the internship opens up. So
All right.
answer that.
Well, it's best to hit level 7 first, because that's where the internship node opens up on the Galaxy.
Good job, guys. Let's see. Can you pass the Piscine, leave, and go back to 42 a couple years later?
The question was, can you pass the Piscine, leave, and then come back to 42 later? I believe the answer is yes,
The
because
answer is yes.
yes.
Don't believe.
Yes, the answer is yes.
How old are you?
I am the question is, how old am I? Okay. I am currently 25.
I am currently 27.
What up, 27? What percentage of people get rejected from the Piscine?
Oh, I'll take that one. I like this. I think I can just come in and take all the odd ones. What percent of people get rejected from the Piscine? So it depends by which group in terms of the October intensive basic training that we had something like a 70% pass rate, right? And that was awesome. They were by far one of the top groups we've had come through here, which is a challenge to all the rest of you that you come in and do the same. Then we've had other groups that come in where the pass rate's more like 50%. So it depends. It's kind of up to how much do you want to corral the group and motivate each other and get moving. Next. Right, let's go, Mia. Hit us up. If not, I'm going to start making up questions. Is there a time limit to finish projects or assignments?
Oh, okay. Well, for the projects, that depends on the projects. Because some of the projects, such as like the rushes I mentioned earlier, are completed within a weekend, pretty much. while other projects like I guess the base curriculum are pretty much more done at your own pace.
So if if any of you out there are looking for a traditional part-time program, we don't have a part-time program because learning isn't bound by time. So if you want to make the program part-time, great, you go ahead and do that. And if you want to make it full-time, good. And if you want to make it somewhere in between, you can do that too. But yeah, learning isn't bound by time here. Yeah.
Do the spots that are used for the Pacine count against the 1,024 computers for the
Do the places that we use for the Piscine count against or count as taken for the 1,024 spots that we have on our campus? Yes, they do. But to be honest, I'm not really concerned about that. If we fill intensive basic training with 600 people, one, that'd be pretty awesome. Two, we just buy more computers. Yeah. We just put like another 1,000 downstairs and off we go. I know, it's pretty cool. We're a pretty cool school like that. If we want to expand, we just do. Actually, that kind of sums up how 42 is. If we want to do something, we kind of just, we think about it a lot and then we just do it. Right? And so with that, students can propose their own projects. So if there are things sort of outside of the Galaxy that you guys want to do, you can come to the academic team and say, hey, I have an idea for a project, can I do it? And they will count as experience points. If the academic team says yes, they will count. Sometimes they even get added to the curriculum. That's pretty cool. I don't know any other school where you can actually add to the curriculum yourself or suggest it. So my question to you guys is, do you know of or have you had any ideas for projects that you personally have wanted to do?
So, yeah, I've definitely had a few projects in mind. It's something involving NFC readers and also a little bit with databases and websites and things of that nature. Don't want to necessarily get too much into detail with it, but at the same time, I have a lot of ideas for once I get to level 7.
Good. Okay. Have we talked about correction points? No, correction points. Okay, you need to explain correction points and how they work.
Okay. All right, so correction points. Oh, what? Okay. So correction points are like kind of a currency that, or I guess, they're just points that are used to get your projects peer evaluated. And you spend them to pretty much get your fellow students to come and look at your project. And you need to have them in order to get all the peer evaluations to get your project turned in. And you get more correction points by signing up on a slot on your intra and going to look at other people's projects as they need evaluation.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thanks. All right, guys. So folks online, if you want to clap virtually, that'd be great. Thanks, guys. You can go back to the AV room, have a seat, join us at the back. I'm going to keep going with our little presentation here. So, folks in real life, welcome back. Hope you had a good tour. We're going to press on here. We're almost done, don't worry. Okay, so in case you didn't get it, we have no teachers, no courses, no classes, and no lectures. Learning isn't bound by time, and we are a very untraditional school system or education system designed on purpose. I hope you guys can see that by now. Program structure. So it's project-based learning, so it is a lot of learning by doing. Why projects? Well, that's what happens in the real world. With that, there's peer-to-peer correction. So you get corrected by your peers as an algorithm that assigns you. Sometimes it's a staff member that corrects you. And there's also a machine or smart machine algorithm computer that corrects as well. Now, why that? Because in the real world, when your code doesn't work and you're at work, what do? You don't go to your boss, you go to your peers, and they're like, hey man, can you take a look at my code? I have, like, something's not working. I need your help. Figure it out. And you sit down and you do it together. And that's exactly how we built our system. You learn a lot of soft skills in peer correction. You learn how to give it. You learn how to take it. Especially if it's in groups as well, then you learn with how to work like a group on one person to a group. So there's a lot of other things built in there, right? In case you're wondering, this is not a remote program. You cannot do it online. You have to do it in person. It's important for us to build a community here, but also the skills that you learn in person. And that's a large part of the soft side of skills, which are important for here. Then thirdly, we have gamification. So you guys should have learned about correction points, experience points, how it works. The sort of projects are given as like missions. It serves as motivation. Now the other thing is logins. Your logins, people can see how much time students have logged in for, how often they're here. And so there's kind of another side to motivation that there's transparency among your peers. Of your project, of your work, of everything. So it motivates you to do well. Advantages. So the point here is to learn, right? And everyone comes in with different skills and different knowledge base. And since learning's not bound by time, you can spend more time on something that you're not very good at, and less time on stuff that you are good at, and then just advance. So you really get to overcome your weaknesses here. You really get to spend time working on them, which is important because it's about learning. It's not about passing, it's about learning. Our peer-to-peer correction system is also a peer-to-peer learning system. How do you learn? We have two ways to learn here. One, Google it. Two, ask your neighbor on your left and ask the neighbor on your right. We kind of joke about that, but actually that's quite literally what happens in the real world. Academic staff are available, but basically we will be like, well, you need to Google it and ask your neighbors first. The thing I like about intensive basic training and also the program here is it's a fail-safe environment, right? Is that what you really do is you learn how to fail and how to just keep going. Because there will be times when your software doesn't work and you feel like you're failing and you can't just give up. You can't be like, oh, sorry, boss, it's just not working today. You're right, that's not how it works. That's not how real life works, man. You gotta go fix it. And so you have to be okay with failing. So here it's a fail-safe environment, right? And so you're learning how to deal with that. The other thing is that you have time to pursue passions. I don't know if you guys touched on this upstairs, but students can actually propose projects that they want to do, which are outside of the curriculum and outside of the Galaxy. They still have to be academically viable, right? They have to be, there's a learning point out of this. But key examples are, we had students design a self-watering plant system that took various variables into account, like how sunny it was, the humidity, when the plant was last watered, what kind of plant it was, right? And then the system watered itself. Another thing we had was the students wanted to build a self-driving car, but we started with the remote control car first, and then now we've graduated to a golf cart. So it's software meets hardware. But those are things that students were like, I really want to do this. It's not in our curriculum. And we were like, okay, great, come propose a project to us. That's pretty awesome. Don't know any other place at university where the students can like immediately add to the curriculum or go from there. Learning isn't bound by time. I think you guys have got that one. I've said that one enough. But the cool thing about learning by time is that it accommodates all kinds of learners. So for people who are either, they just take longer to learn, or they have learning challenges or disabilities, or the other side, like they're just absolute geniuses, right? And college was boring because it's bound by time, right? You can't do a master's in less than 5 years. And they're like, dude, I'm bored, right? You come here, do it as fast as you want, do it as slow as you want. But the point is that you learn, right? And with that, we here in this system here at 42 is that you get to work on your weaknesses and you get to overcome them, and you get to help other people overcome their weaknesses too, which makes it, the important point is a learning community. You're doing it together. Give you some highlights. Cool projects, self-driving cars, self-watering plants, just a few of them. There's more. I hope you guys have more to contribute, because we like people who come and contribute with ideas. Industry presenters. We get a lot of people come in through these doors from all sorts who present. We had people present from, we had Google, somebody who just got acquired by Airbnb. who do we had? We had FileMaker, who's an Apple subsidiary. They were here last week. Sigfox were here last week. So there's no shortage of people who come through and present. Then this is also sort of home to a lot of events and meetups. We have a lot of hackathons that go on that come through here that we help with. We have a high school program that we put on. It's free as well. So there's no shortage of stuff to do here, sort of on campus and student life. Other thing is we take companies with projects. So key example is the Sigfox, who were here last week. They came to us and they said, hey, we want to do a project with you guys. We want to put sensors in Mexico, like literally in the ground in Mexico, to be able to identify seismic activity and eventually be able to predict earthquakes. Of course, they need the hardware, they need the software side of stuff, and that is a project along with the Mexican government and somebody else. Pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. Not everyone gets to do stuff like that. Just one example, we have many more in the bag coming. Hackathons sort of already touched on that. We're going to say a bit more. A lot of students get together and go to hackathons, right? This is the Bay Area. There's loads to go to. We've had students actually drive all the way up to Seattle. They're sort of all piled in one car, all 5 of them. Off they went to Seattle because there was a big hackathon that they all wanted to go to. So again, it's like pretty cool community. People get together and do stuff. Why 42? Why come here? It's free. Never going to get old, that one. Flexible curriculum. So you get to control what you learn, when you learn, how you learn. And you actually learn skills for the workplace, right? So you won't get the skills gap that you have with most traditional university courses. It's mastery-based learning. So the point is that you learn and that you can do what you're meant to do, not it's ABC grading, right? And then you actually sit around and code all day long. You don't sit in lectures. This is real life learning. Like, you're doing it. You don't get bored because you're making stuff all day long, or you've got problems, or you've got challenges or solutions, right? It's not sitting there and listening to somebody talk like I'm doing now. Real-time curriculum changes. So we are, I believe, in the process of adding blockchain to oh, hey, you got somebody's attention there. That was funny. Yeah, the industry needs it. They literally have come to us and been like, we don't have enough blockchain developers. Can you like add that to your curriculum now, please? So we said, okay, cool. And off we went and started building it. Flexible working and no classes. So you can work when you want to work. There are people literally who work, I think they probably start work at like 8 p.m. and work till like 7:30. So when I get to work, they're going to bed. Oh man, I don't know how they do it. They love it. I don't know how they do it. But point is that you work when it suits you. Whether that means you have a part-time job or you're a total night owl, doesn't matter. But I can tell you there's more people here in this place at 10 p.m. than there is at 10 a.m. Which is pretty funny. A passionate and welcoming community. A lot of people say the learning community here is unlike anything else they've ever seen. Twofold, there's 2 parts to that. Yes, that's exciting to come into, but 2, when you come into it, like, we expect you to contribute to it, right? And it's not sort of sit back and consume. It's like, no, this is a community where we create and we're making and we're learning all day long, every day. Finally, it's workplace ready. So we have this is like, you get a lot of transitions straight into the workforce. I wish I could share a story, but it's not quite yet ready. It'll come out later on. So with that, I hope you'll join us. For those of you here, the next steps that you need to do is go sign up for intensive basic training. You can pick a bunch of sessions we have. We've got next one in March, May, June, July, August, and then October for 2018. So you need to go back onto your admissions.42.us.org, sign in. You'll now have been validated as having attended a check-in, and so you can sign up for intensive basic training. With that, if you would like a dorm for intensive basic training, you need to complete an application for a dorm for intensive basic training as well. All the information is on our website, so you can take a look there. So with that, we're going to do a quick Q&A. So folks online, you can do the same thing. Put those questions in the chat box, and our lovely Mio will yell out questions from the back. In the meantime, folks who are here on campus, do you guys have any questions I can answer for you? Yes.
In the intensive basic training, which I've seen, do you know the general like acceptance rate? I guess how many people?
General acceptance rate for intensive basic training. Yeah. So just to be clear, if you've attended a check-in, you can sign up for intensive basic training, right? After that, so it depends by group, right? So October, we had a pass rate of 70%. They were awesome. They're the ones to beat, basically. We've had other ones that are like 45%, 50%. Honestly, it just depends on who comes in. Yep. Question?
You mentioned the staff earlier. We've heard a lot about the students and peer-to-peer learning. Can you explain a little bit about the staff and what do they do here?
Yep. So staff, we have our managing director and co-founder, big guy called Kwam. He co-founded the school in France, and he also co-founded, he's actually founded a lot of IT schools all around the world over the last 20 years. So he's a lot of experience in that. Our chief academic officer is a guy called Gaëtan. He was the first employee of 42 in France and has basically built a lot of the curriculum. He's here and continuing to do that here. Came out to co-found 42 in the US. And then we have our chief operating officer as an American girl called Brittany. And she did 42 in Paris and then came out here and founded the school out here. So those are sort of three main ones who run it. Outside of that, we have a team who sort of do HR, marketing, events, corporate relations. Then we have an academic team, which includes some of our student volunteers who want to sort of take part in building the curriculum or working on the curriculum and sort of other projects that we have going on in the school. Then we have security, we have our cantina staff, we have a cantina in the dorms, and then we have sort of facilities operations side of things. So we don't have a huge staff, which is great because it means two things. One, we're scalable, and two, it keeps the costs down, which is important when you're giving it away for free. So it's sustainable. Any other questions? Where are the dorms? The dorms are, so for the folks online, you won't be able to see the dorms, sorry. They're just over there. You can't go into the dorm rooms, like we don't have any available, because they're full, right? We have intensive basic training on, we have our students here, so it's that. But you can walk over and sort of take a look at the building over there. Yes? No. So if you finish intensive basic training, then you sign up for a start date. We have, I think it's 4 or 5 start dates throughout the year. So you just pick whatever one suits you. You don't have to start straight away. Mio, questions from the back. Assuming that you get a dorm, which is free, what's your budget? So depends how much you eat. And it depends how much your cell phone costs. You know, if you're really hungry, my guess would be, I think we calculated something like $400 or $500 a week. That's if you want to eat at the cantina, right? So that's assuming you don't go to Safeway or you don't go to any of the shops and you just eat on campus. Somewhere around $400 to $500 a week. Again, if you're hungry, right? That's sort of your level. If you don't, and if you are like, hey man, I like my porridge in the morning, or with the oatmeal, that's what it is. I like my oatmeal, you know, and I'm a ramen noodles kind of dude. Okay, you know, it would probably be $200 for the entire month. So that's sort of up to you guys and whoever, what your sort of eating choices are. Yes, question? If you don't get a dorm, it's up to you guys to find accommodation around here. Some people get, they call, in San Francisco, in the Bay Area at least, they call them hacker houses, right? So people sort of get together who are all hackers or coders and they get a house. We've had people in the PC or intensive basic training get an Airbnb together for a month and then split the costs. It sort of depends. You know, there's some people who like camping too and camp for a month. That's cool too, right? totally up to them. Yes.
So do we have contact with the other students prior to arriving, or how do we contact other people to find out who's interesting to then target them?
Slack. Slack channels. We love Slack. We live by Slack. Yes.
Because this is a traditional school with a traditional degree, how would the knowledge we gain here transfer into getting a job? Like, how is that process done? You mentioned earlier that companies have been coming here, so you guys talk directly with the companies. How does it work after the school?
So interesting question. Sort of like basically, how do you go get a job? So So first of all, it's how do you go get a job? We do not give you a job. Absolutely no way. One, that's not the 42 way of doing things. Two, that's not how the real world works, right? We are no way guaranteeing jobs. However, there's a huge number of companies who are knocking on our door to be like, hey, we want your students. So it's a two-way street, right? One, you have to put the effort in. Like, there's no way that you get a job here without putting the effort in. You still have to work your butt off to get really good at doing technical interviews, right? You still have to do your CV. Like, you have to put the work in on your side. It's not that companies are like, oh yeah, sure, I'll just take anyone. No. This is Silicon Valley. Like, it's still competitive. But the upside is that here, you spend all day coding, right? So you have a huge amount of technical knowledge and skills. And by things like using your GitHub, using the projects that you've done here, companies see that. So yes, we do build relationships with companies. We have a corporate relations manager. We have recruiting fairs, like they come to campus, they come do presentations, they post jobs on our job board. Like, yeah, there is a huge amount of that. Equally, students have gone out and got jobs from companies that have had no contact with 42 before. It depends, right? We've also had people go into startups or start their own businesses. So there's sort of a mix. It depends what you're looking to do. Yeah. Does that sort of answer your question? Yep. Question from the internet, from the online folks.
What should we expect to learn during the intensive basic training? Does it provide a formal certification?
What do you expect to learn during intensive basic training, and is there a formal certification? Number one, it's a secret, and number two, no. I'm serious, I'm not giving it away. This is part of the challenge, right? Like, you're walking into something and you don't necessarily know what it's gonna be like. Welcome to the real world. Do you have to have any prior coding experience to come here? Absolutely not. They are, and literally we have one of our student volunteers, no coding experience whatsoever, walked in and was just like, I did marketing beforehand. And no coding experience. There's a lot of people who come here and do that. So you don't need to practice anything or whatever beforehand, just come on in. Questions, yes?
So I have Christine. So I have full-time job here, and every day I have about 6 hours to learn coding. And I know your guys require 8 hours, like 40 hours per week, right?
No, so if you have a dorm, yes. If you don't need a dorm, you do not have to meet the dorm requirements to do 40 hours a week. So we have a lot of people who live locally and who come and they come here like 12 hours a week, or they come here 20 hours a week, or however much they want to, right? For intensive basic training, there's no time requirement. It's not that you have to be here, but if you're not here, you will fail. Oh, I'm dead serious, man. This is an immersive, like, you need to be here 28 days solid. Expect to spend like 12 to 15 hours a day here. Yeah, it's like, this is intense. This is, are you ready to work? Equally, this is the best program in the country. Yeah, it should be difficult to get in. Question from I'm going to stop saying it at the end. Question from our digital audience.
This is going to be a tough question for you, Jen. How is 42 regarded by tech companies, for example, Google, Amazon, compared to a science degree, computer science degree from a traditional university?
So how do people see 42 in the eyes of big tech companies compared to somebody with a computer science degree? The answer is, it depends on the company. So Google, they tend to look at what are you technically capable of doing. And they don't necessarily care whether you have a CS degree or not, right? And then there are other companies that I will not name that are more traditional and old, and they think that a computer science degree is a measure of how much somebody knows, and also how much somebody can code. Of course, the irony is that we have students from top CS universities come here and be like, oh dang, I didn't know much. Yeah, I know, seriously, right? And from universities that are just up in the Bay Area, and they come here, and they're not the best at the intensive basic training, and they're not our best students either. They're good, but they're not the best, which is very telling. So in other ways, we're also out to sort of change the industry and to be like, hey, what is the point of having a degree? So you have a sheet of paper that says you attended class for 4 years and you passed. Great, well, what does that mean? What does that mean that you can actually do in terms of sitting down and writing code at a computer? Do you know about architecture? Do you know how to think through things, right? Because if you don't, then you're not going to bring as much to the company in the first 3 months as somebody else who's come through this program and sat down and spent all day doing that. Yeah, so we give them, they learn problem solving. That's one of many things you learn here. Okay, one more question, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question was, hey, I have a project that I'm going to work on that's outside the Galaxy curriculum, and can I work on that? Do I have time to work on that? Is that doable, or is it not? So the answer is, it depends on whether that project gives you academic credit or not, right? So if you come to us and say, hey, here's a project that I want to do, like the self-driving car project, and we say, okay, yes, it has like academic goals, credits, great, you can go ahead and do that, then that's fine. Yes, you like all the time that you spend on that counts towards like the requirements, and it counts towards you getting academic progression, right? You're moving forward. If you're like, hey, I have this little startup that I want to do on the side, and you know it's not really any academic learning related to 42, then no, right? That's your side project, hobby, cool. You still need to meet like requirements here at 42. Cool. Okay, with that, I think we're going to call check-in finished. Congratulations. I hope you guys sign up for intensive basic training, and we're going to see you soon. I'm going to stick around for a couple questions. And yeah, so have a great rest of your Saturday, guys.